Well, I thought I'd take a minute to discuss the cancellation of Doom Patrol and Titans. I'm shocked. It's rather sad. There was great potential here, more so for Doom Patrol, and Doom Patrol kind of achieved some amount of creative excellence here. They had some good moments and whatnot, but it became quickly repetitive. But it was easily the superior show when it comes to Titans, even though technically they did cross over with one another, although I guess you could rule that as an alternate universe version of them, since, the Chief was a different actor. But anyway, Doom Patrol, certainly in the exploration of surrealism and whatnot, within it, and of course it was taken completely from the Vertigo version and Grant Morrison and all that of Doom Patrol, and so creatively it achieved more heights than what Titans did, because Titans was taking on something that it was never going to have the budget for. Now I don't know what the budget between the two shows what was or were, but people were more creative on their sets and scenarios that they had portrayed in Doom Patrol, with whatever limited abilities they had to depict superpowers. And a lot of times, even though these were all superpowered people of some sort, it was very limited. You didn't really get to see a lot of it. And that's what, and it kind of dragged it down, in the sense that they kept doing the same thing over again, their journey and who am I really and what am I about and all that kind of stuff. When you seemingly came to the conclusion of it, it didn't make a whole lot of sense to do it yet again. And I mean, that kept happening. I haven't started on their fourth season just yet. Titans, I did. But what I'm going to do eventually when I get to it, same thing with Stargirl, which was canceled before it was even posted. For whatever reason, they waited a little longer for these shows. But that's what I'll do. I'll give an overview of the season, and that's about it. There's really no point in doing episode by episode, because I knew these were all doomed, giggle, shows from the get-go. So the announcement doesn't surprise me at all. James Gunn ran out there and said, "It's not me." And I mean, to some extent, how much of his impact would it have been? I don't think much. He's just there. And I just didn't see a future for these shows. And especially since they're supposed to be doing the big reboot coming as much as possible, with keeping a few players here and there, I imagine. That they keep saying they want it to be all connected, and these shows weren't. It's too bad they didn't, because the guy cast as Dick Grayson would have made a good Dick Grayson for Ben Affleck's Batman. I know Zack Snyder said that Dick Grayson was dead in his version of it, but they could have overruled that and just said it was Jason Todd who died. But anyway, it's probably the best actor to play the role. But it's another one of these scenarios where you see an actor very capable and ready and not given the material worthy of their abilities. And this poor guy, he just never got a shot. And in fact, most of the cast, the guy playing Jason Todd, he had some moments, but it fell flat. And I mean, and there, to be fair to him, the story they gave him for Red Hood and everything was just awful. I mean, you had the cool scenes at the opening and all that, and it led people, and then it just fell apart. It was garbage. The first two seasons weren't that great either, but they were better than that. So I'm a little further in the fourth season, and it's not as bad as the third, but it's not that great. It's still got a lot of stupid in it. But amazingly enough, they did have these great moments, and Nightwing is one of them, or Dick Grayson, Robin, whatever. Nightwing that's the show they should have done. They should have gone and tried to do as close as they could get, since they can't use Batman for whatever reason, and do a Nightwing series you wouldn't need superpowered special effects and stuff. You would need stunts and whatnot. But on the level of Daredevil, learn the lessons of Netflix's Daredevil. And you probably would have had a pretty solid show there. Because that's because all these superpowered characters in Titans, and they just didn't have the money for it. And especially in the case of Starfire, she couldn't really do what she's supposed to do. You know, they would demonstrate her glowing powers and this sort of thing. And then everybody's back to doing kung fu fighting or whatever. It's like you're a goddess from outer space. You don't need to be trying to kick people. And so, you know, they just didn't have it for her. And so, it's not on the actors. I know there was some people belly aching, and they've tried to make it about race and everything, but it really wouldn't have mattered. It's just there again, they didn't have the budget because, Coriander's an alien. Her skin is orange. But, makeup's costly and whatnot. So I didn't really care about it. It's just her personality they didn't give her the character that she's supposed to be. And with all their, hey, look, they can say cuss words, and Dick Grayson hit the sack. But, of course, Coriander was, very open to sex all the time. But they didn't really do that. And she's not as of the bubbly personality that she had in the comics. At least the Titans I remember, which is back to the original, with George Perez and Marv Wolfman and all that. I don't know what all they've done since. It's unrecognizable to me. And then, of course, Cyborg was it. They had Cyborg in Doom Patrol. I don't know why that was the case when he could have been in Titans, but it wouldn't have mattered because, again, they didn't really have the money for a Titans show. And so a Nightwing show would have been better. Oddly enough, they did do one fantastic episode for the Superboy character, and especially with Crypto there. It needed more Crypto, but, again, probably difficult to shoot and all that. But they did it was a great episode when they introduced him and all that. It's one of those weird things. But not enough. Not enough. But a Nightwing show, I think, would have had a chance anyway. But then, of course, with Warner Brothers collapsing all around itself, maybe not, even if it's good. Because Stargirl's a pretty good show. It's got its weaknesses and stuff. The absolute best they've managed to produce at the last minute was the Superman show. But Stargirl was pretty good. But there again, doesn't matter. The money's run out. So the idea that Titans lasted as long as it did is... I don't know how or why, but it did. But it just devolved into crap, and probably never really had a shot. And it's unfortunate. Doom Patrol was easily the better of the two, but there again, superhero shows are always going to be expensive. But in the end, it should have been just a Nightwing show. And it's a shame, because you had fairly decent actors playing these roles. That could have led it into some interesting plots and stories, but couldn't get there. Didn't have the money for it, I guess. That's not really a total excuse for it. With clever writers and plots, you can figure that out. But they didn't. And for Doom Patrol, which was better of the two, it still was brought down by being just too repetitive within the characters. When you try to keep your cool fancy soap opera going, but with the same story over and over again, it's gonna get old fast. So I'm afraid that's ultimately the problem that they had, and of course Titans just never had a shot.